My name is Christopher Whitehead. This is an assignment for American Public University. The assignment was to locate a story in popular media in the last 3 years or so that was a good example of business ethics again. Now, laughing aside, there are plenty of examples, but we had to relate this story to a couple of terms we were going over in class. And the terms I chose are short-termism and relativism. First, short-termism is when upper management of a company has profit structure in place so that if lower management actually meets the sales goal, they get very generous bonuses. And then ethical relativism is if something is going on a different part of the globe, we might think it's horrible. For example, work conditions in Bangladesh for very low wages might be abhorrent to American, but that dollar amount could be a good wage in Bangladesh. Which brings us to the story. In 2013, the Rana building collapsed in Bangladesh. It was the center of what's called the ready-made garment industry in Bangladesh. So you had thousands of workers going there every day to sew clothing for some of the largest clothing manufacturers in the Western countries, like the United States, England, France. Some of the largest companies in the world, from Walmart to Gap to Benetton, things of that sort, went out of this building. So when the building collapsed in 2013, the ethics that each company was following came into question. The day before the building collapsed, there were cracks evident on the foundations and walls of the buildings. And management and ownership of the buildings were told not to send their workers in because it could be dangerous. Because of short-termism and their focus on the profits, eventually going to large bonuses, they still sent the workers in. And again, we all understand what happened. The building came down, over 1,100 people died, and over 2,500 people injured. A possible silver lining, though, that could come out of this is that worker safety in Bangladesh is finally being addressed. There are two competing boards that came into existence just after the fact. The first one, also referred to as the Accord, was signed almost 2 years to the date today. It was I think, actually the 15th of May, 2013. And that has over 100 of the biggest brand names throughout the globe and many other countries backing it. And some of the key points of the Accord are actually mandatory inspections, worker safety training, the right for workers to actually refuse work and not have their wages docked. But then there also is a secondary board, commonly referred to as the Alliance, which is backed by United States companies and a couple other large Western companies of the sort. What the Alliance offers is more frequent inspections, but they don't go as far. They essentially just do a walkthrough, and so it looks good on paper. This begs a question. Why have two boards essentially doing the same thing? Unless, of course, one board is more serious about following through than the other. The other might just, be checking a box in the ethics management program, so they look good on paper. Long and short, things like this do not have to happen. Thousands of people died, and it's unfortunate because the focus was on profits instead of workers, consumers, and the people. Thank you.